Moving on to chapter 2 of Mastering Meditation, and this chapter is titled, What is HRV Resonance? So HRV is an acronym which stands for heart rate variability, and then I'll also be referencing back to some things we covered in the previous video where he has his 8 steps to becoming your own meditative expert, and step number 1 is resonant breathing. And then I'll also be referencing something else he wrote. When you boil it down, meditation mastery involves only these 3 processes, the first of which is something he calls the low idle state. HRV resonance, also known as cardiac coherence, is a balanced and harmonious pattern of heart rate fluctuations. The heart rate naturally varies up and down between its beats. The resonance or coherence takes place when these variations begin to align with the rhythm of the in and out breath. The heart rate begins to follow the breath, which forms what is called resonance between the two. And so this is something I just naturally stumbled into or noticed as I was exploring my own meditation practice, and actually first noticed this inside of a float tank or a sensory deprivation tank, which is basically like the most ideal environment to be trying to meditate in. But this is easy enough to notice if you just simply wear earplugs, where it becomes very easy to hear and like feel and notice your heart rate, your heart beating. And so what I realized is that my heart rate would slow down on my exhales and speed up a little bit as I would inhale. And then also if I would slow my breath rate down, as much as I could comfortably, it was just more noticeable. My heart rate would slow down even more as my breath rate slowed as well. This physiological state of balance creates in the meditator what I, or he, calls the low idle state. And then here he's going to talk about what he calls the holy trinity of breaths, which is this whole this 3-step process thing. So number 1, keep the breath rate under 7 breaths per minute, which might sound like a little bit, but when you start slowing your breath down, that's actually kind of a lot, and we'll expand a bit more on that here in a second. Number 2, always make the out breath longer. And then number 3 is something that I don't do or didn't do when I was kind of discovering this on my own. Take out all the pauses between breaths. So something that I would do is what I would call my play dead meditation. Is what I would realize is that as I was exhaling, my heart rate would be slowing down, and then it would be at its slowest at the very bottom of my exhale. So I would do this real mini pause at the bottom of my exhale, and then in between my heartbeat I would just try to turn off and play dead. And I found that to be a really great way to practice open awareness meditation, where you could be thinking about whatever you want, but at the very bottom of that breath, in between your heartbeat, when you play dead, you just drop everything. So I found it to be a good way to practice dropping things or dropping thoughts. Any one of these principles has a chance to induce HRV resonance in a meditation. Apply all 3 at once and resonance is guaranteed. If you have already been meditating for some time, you will find this rate to be, so the whole 7 breaths per minute, to be way too fast. You will need to adopt a breath rate closer to 4 or 5 breaths per minute. If you are just starting out in meditation, you may find 7 breaths per minute a slight stretch, so potentially difficult, but it should be very doable. And then something I noticed when I was kind of just figuring out all this on my own. So like I'll be going to sleep, and then my wife like me hug or spoon all night, so I'll be over there holding her. But then what I realized is like our breath rate is like drastically different. So as I'm doing this, I am trying to relax, and I do like to essentially do this type of breathing as I'm falling asleep, doing my whole hypnagogic meditation thing, right? But I would realize that I'd be doing, for my 1 breath, she's doing like 4 or 5 breaths, which is nuts. And like every once in a while I'll think about it, be like, man, is that even true? And then I'll go to sleep and I'll be hugging her and I'm paying attention to it, and yeah, it's true. So it is kind of nuts. But anyway, I think we'll leave it there, and yeah, until the next video, keep your meditation practice legit